You are now within minutes of horror, because in this video, we are going to explore the many strange and bizarre circumstances involving scientists and other employees within a top secret work company located in England called Marconi Work Systems. Even if you are a skeptic of conspiracies, this one may have you questioning yourself. Marconi, which today exists as a part of BAE Systems Electronics Limited, its works include the development of futuristic weaponry and spy satellite technology. Marconi Work Systems had many strange deaths that took place between the 1980s up to even the early 2000s, which still today remains unsolved. So sit back and relax as we explore the mysterious group of deaths behind an even more mysterious company. Before we get into the story, I want to talk about something I find personally mysterious. Strange entities out of nowhere have been popping up randomly in my videos. Doing more research, I found out these entities are cryptids called the unsubbed ones. They're generally harmless, but to ward them off and keep them at bay, you must subscribe and hit that notification button. And with that out of the way, let's begin. It was March 1982 that Professor Keith Bowden, a longtime employee of the company whose computer expertise made him a valuable employee of Marconi, lost his life in a car accident. His vehicle mysteriously accelerated, left a 3-lane highway at high speed, and slammed into a railway line. His death was instantaneous and ruled an accident, but Keith Bowden's death would begin a snowball effect of more mysterious deaths to come. 3 years later, in March 1985, Roger Hill, a draughtsman with Marconi, died of a shotgun blast. His death was deemed that he took his own life. Only months later, the body of Jonathan Wash, an employee of a department within British Telecom that had extensive links to Marconi, was found on the sidewalk of an Ivory Coast, West Africa hotel. It is believed that Jonathan Wash either fell or was pushed from the balcony of his room in the hotel. Before this, Wash had told friends and family he believed someone was watching and following him, and that he suspected his life was in danger, adding to suspicions that his death was not due to an accident or ending his own life. As 1985 turned into 1986, the death toll at Marconi increased dramatically. On August 4th, 1986, a highly regarded young man named Vimal Dujbai jumped from England's Clifton Suspension Bridge into the deep waters below. He did not survive the fall. Dujbai held a secret clearance with Marconi Underwater Systems, a subsidiary of the main company. Only just around 8 weeks later, one of the most grisly of all the Marconi scientists' deaths occurred. The victim was a computer programmer, Arshad Sharif. Sharif's death was so bizarre and terrible, it even made the news thousands of miles away in the United States. The Los Angeles Times reported that Sharif died in strange circumstances, when he apparently tied one end of a rope around a tree and the other around his neck, then got into his car and stepped on the accelerator. It was ruled he ended his own life. The coroner in the Sharif case, Donald Hawkins, commented oddly on the fact that Marconi was experiencing an extraordinary number of odd deaths that went well beyond just being a coincidence. As the months progressed in 1986, so did the deaths. The case of Dr. John Britton was particularly disturbing, since he had 2 run-ins with death, the second of which he did not survive. During Christmas 1986, Britton ended up in a ditch after his car violently and inexplicably launched across the road, which was mysterious because he just bought this brand new car. He is lucky to survive, but the Grim Reaper was not happy that he did, because less than 2 weeks into January 1987, after Britton returned to the United Kingdom from the United States, where he had been on official secret business, Britton's body was found in his garage. He was an unfortunate victim of the effects of deadly carbon monoxide. Even more mysterious is the strange death of Richard Pugh, a computer expert who had done work for Marconi, and on January 1987 he went missing, where he was later found in his home's basement, where he had died of strangulation, but it was later reported that he had taken his own life. The Ministry of Defense dismissed his death with the following words: "We have heard about him, but he has nothing to do with us," which is kind of strange because Richard Pugh was a well-known employee within Marconi. Then there's the extremely weird incident of Avtar Gita, an employee of the British Ministry of Defense who worked on a number of Marconi programs. He vanished from his home in Loughborough, England, right around the same time that Dr. John Britton died. Gita's family feared the worst. Fortunately, Gita did not turn up dead. Quite the opposite. In fact, he was found in Paris 15 weeks later. He had no memory of where he had been or what he had done in that period. The deaths of Britton, Dajbai, and Sharif, coupled with the odd case of Gita, prompted a member of Parliament, John Cartwright, to state authoritatively that the death stretched the possibility of mere coincidence too far. Cartwright's words proved to be eerily right. On February 22, 1987, Peter P. Pell, a lecturer at the Royal College of Military Science, who had been consulted by Marconi on various projects, was yet another figure whose death was due to carbon monoxide poisoning in his own garage in the English county of Oxfordshire. In the same month, David Skeels, a Marconi engineer, was found dead under identical circumstances, carbon monoxide poisoning in his garage. Victor Moore was attached to Marconi Space and Defense Systems at the time of his February 1987 death, reportedly of an illegal narcotics overdose. He was said to be under investigation by MI5, the British equivalent of the FBI. 1 month later, in March 1987, David Sands ended his life under truly horrific circumstances. He was in the employ of what was called Elliott Automation Space and Advanced Military Systems, which just happened to have a working relationship with Marconi at the time. Sands, whose family and colleagues said he was exhibiting no signs of stress or strain, loaded his car with containers of gasoline and drove at extremely high speeds into an empty restaurant, where a fiery death was inevitable. 1987 was definitely a strange year for Marconi. There was yet another death of an employee of the Royal College of Military Science, Stuart Gooding, whose car slammed head-on into a truck on the island of Cyprus. Colleagues of Gooding expressed doubt at the accidental death verdict. On the very same day as Gooding died, David Greenhalgh died after falling or being pushed off a railway bridge at Maidenhead, Berkshire. Greenhalgh just happened to be working on the same program as David Sands. Just 7 days later, after Greenhalgh and Gooding died, only a short distance away, a woman named Shani Warren took her last breaths. Warren worked for Microscope, a company taken over by Marconi just weeks later. Despite being found in just 1.5 feet of water and a gag in her mouth, her feet bound, and her hands tied behind her back, the official verdict was, you guessed it, she ended her own life. May 3rd, 1987 was the date on which Michael Baker was killed in a car accident in Dorset, England. He worked on a classified programs for Plessey. 12 years later, Plessey became a part of British Aerospace when the latter combined with Marconi. 10 months after, Trevor Knight, who worked for Marconi Space and Defense Systems in Stanmore, Middlesex, England, died, as had so many others, from carbon monoxide poisoning in his garage. No one was investigating Marconi. They said they were, but nothing came out of it, and these strange deaths continued into 1988. Peter Ferry, a business development manager with Marconi, and Plessey's Alastair Beckham both ended their lives via electrocution. And finally, there was the mysterious 1991 death of Malcolm Putty. He had told bosses at Marconi he had stumbled on something amazing and revolutionary. What that exactly was, no one knows, because within 24 hours, Putty was dead. His body was hauled out of a canal near his home. It definitely does not sound like Marconi has the best healthcare insurance policy, but the grim list of deaths finally came to an end. The controversy, though, was far from over. as there was another group of deaths happening in the world of microbiology. From the final months of 2001 to mid-2005, near countless people employed in an elite field of microbiology, which is defined as the study of organisms that are too small to be seen with the naked eye, such as bacteria and viruses, died under circumstances that within the media and government came to view as highly suspicious and deeply disturbing in nature. While not directly linked to Marconi, the world of microbiology did have secret links to agencies that linked back to Marconi. Secret links to worldwide intelligence services including the United States CIA, Britain's MI5 and MI6, and Israel's Mossad. Inevitably, this mysterious collection of deaths in such a tightly knit area of cutting-edge research has led to a proliferation of theories in an attempt to resolve the matter. Some believe that a cell of deep-cover terrorists from the Middle East wiped out the leading names within the field of microbiology as a part of a plot to prevent Western nations from developing the ultimate bioweapon. A darker theory suggests that the same weapon had already been developed, and with their work complete, the microbiologists were systematically ended one by Western intelligence in an effort to prevent them from being kidnapped by terrorists who may have forced them to work from the other side. On July 18, 2003, it was reported in the British press that David Kelly, a British biological weapons expert, had slashed his own wrist while walking in woods near his home. Kelly was the British Ministry of Defense chief scientific officer who had links back to Marconi. Almost 4 months later to the day, scientist Robert Leslie Berghoff, 45, was killed by a hit-and-run driver that jumped the sidewalk and plowed into him in the 1600 block of South Braeswood, Texas. At the time, he was studying outbreaks of viruses on board cruise ships and their potential links to terrorist activity. Controversy largely began on November 12, 2001, when Dr. Benito K., a cell biologist working on infectious diseases, including HIV, was found dead outside of his laboratory at the Miami Medical School in Florida. The Miami Herald stated that his death occurred as he headed for his car, a white Ford Explorer parked on Northwest 10th Avenue. Police said that he was possibly the victim of a mugger. According to later developments uncovered by the media, however, the new word on the street was that Dr. K had been attacked by 4 men equipped with baseball bats. This was later recanted, and it was deemed that Dr. K had died of nothing stranger than cardiac arrest. And with that final statement in the public domain, police refused to comment any further on Dr. K's death. In the late 90s, you had the rise of popular conspiracy theorists, and a popular one at the time was Keith David, who was actually writing books and diving in too deep about the world of microbiology and Marconi deaths. September 1999, after attending the annual Burning Man event in Nevada's Black Rock Desert, Keith had headed out to the annual Burning Man Festival in Black Rock, just north of Reno, Nevada, a day before the event began. While on stage, Keith lost his balance and fell to the ground. At first, Keith thought he had just badly bruised his leg. By morning, Keith was in such agony that he had to call for paramedics, who were quickly on the scene and took him to Washoe Medical Center in Reno. Keith was told that he had fractured his tibia and that he would have to be prepped for surgery, which would require him to be anesthetized. This is when things started to get really bizarre. Keith had put a call through to a friend in the conspiracy field, George Picard, who told him that one of the attendants at the hospital had the same name as someone he debated on the matter of black helicopters in the area of Marconi, and only just a few months earlier. This could have just been mere coincidence, but as the time for surgery got closer, Keith got more and more anxious. He said to his nephew, Chris Davis, "I have a feeling that if they put me under, I'm not coming back. I know if I get put under, I am going to die." That's exactly what happened. A blood clot during surgery took Keith's life. Friends also stated that just days prior to this, as Keith was researching Marconi and also Princess Diana's death, he was experiencing weird computer hacking. As I stated previously, Keith was writing a book that connected everything together, and he had a publisher and buddy named Ron Bonds, who also, not too long after Keith, died of mysterious circumstances. At the end of the day, no one knows what Marconi or World of Microbiology were building and researching. Any Google search on this only leads to who they are and the many mysterious deaths surrounding them, though it is apparent whatever they were doing warranted to them ending the lives of numerous employees, so no secret had gotten out. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content and channel and want to see more, please subscribe and hit that notification button.